I gave you what I called your reading assignment for tonight. I'm sure, being who you are, you ignored me and didn't read it, but I'll just summarize it for the audience, even in case you did read it, which I found them fascinating, which is there's this hardcore leftist leader in Germany who has become one of the most popular politicians in Germany, even though she started with the Communist Party. She still kind of identifies as a Marxist, but she's popular not only among the left, but even parts of the populace right now. And the reason is that her views have become things like questioning why Germany continues to be in NATO, questioning why Germany is risking the welfare of its own citizens by alienating Russia to support this war in Ukraine that Germany has no benefit in one way or the other. She was opposed to COVID mandates. She kind of uses that old left-wing argument about how immigration has become a international corporate plot to drive down wages. And she's finding all kinds of common ground, and you see this ability to unite these, what are supposed to be these two sides that are supposed to hate each other, that are constantly told they should hate each other. Do you see, as part of your project, an attempt to bridge these gaps, or is that just something that happens organically as a result of your show?
Well, at first it was organic. Well, you know, I have people in my family that voted for Trump, so I can't hate them. You know, what am I supposed to do? Hate them? A lot of people did hate them. So, you know, the crazy thing is that in my mind, Glenn, and you've stayed consistent, I've stayed consistent. It's the liberal class that has moved to the right on big major issues. And so, for instance, free speech. Now, if you're for free speech, you're considered right wing. I go in comedy clubs in Los Angeles, right, every night, and I'll see comedian almost once a night. Somebody will say something about free speech and how it's now a right wing thing. And I just so they've shifted, and so now that's why they call us. And so. It is now part of my mission to bring people together, to not demonize your neighbor. Your neighbor isn't the guy causing your pain. They want you to be distracted and think Trump voters are your enemy. They're not. We share a common enemy. And that enemy right now, so just like what's happening with McCarthy today, right? So whether it's McCarthy, whether it's Nancy Pelosi, you and I both know they work for the same people. I have friends who say to them, who are still Democrats, who say, I wish the Democrats were just better at their jobs. Hey, the Democrats are great at their job. You just don't know what their job is. Their job is to be the Washington Generals to the Harlem Globetrotters. And what people don't remember is that the same guy who pays the Washington Generals is the same guy who pays the Harlem Globetrotters, just like the same guy who pays the Republicans and the Democrats.
Because you need the theater. You need that theater of two sides playing for the same side but appearing to fight one another.
I just saw I think on your Twitter feed, there was a video of Joe Biden saying how great friends he is with Mitch McConnell, right? And that's all you need to know. It's a class war. It's already been waged, and they won.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. When I first started writing, it was not only common but almost obligatory, if you wanted to succeed in left liberal politics, to affirm that George Bush and Dick Cheney were similar to Hitler. And now Michelle Obama and Barack Obama love to make very flamboyant showings of hugging the Bushes and the Cheneys. Liz Cheney has become, despite having never changed a single one of her view, like Bill Kristol and David Frum and all those scumbag neocons who started wars, heroes to the American liberal establishment and to American liberals. I want to talk a little bit about why I regarded today as such a great day to have you on. What I think a lot of people don't realize watching the thing with Kevin McCarthy and his, this desperation to get almost every Republican vote on his side to become a speaker, which gives every Republican member great power because the small majority means they each have leverage. Back in 2020, Nancy Pelosi was in a very similar position. She had very few votes that she could lose, which vested every individual Democrat with a great deal of power because they could withhold their vote to make her speaker in exchange for some kind of concession. And you came up with and pioneered a theory or a strategy that you called force the vote that I think incited one of the bitterest and most hateful infighting episodes within left liberal politics that I've seen in a long time for really revealing reasons. So explain to people what that strategy was for those who don't remember back in 2020. What was the scenario with Pelosi and why did it lead to such vitriol against you?
Again, just like McCarthy's in that spot. So when the squad got elected, they called them the squad. And why do you call them the squad? Because they're supposed to act together, right? So if they acted together and voted together, they could actually deny Nancy Pelosi the speakership, right? So that was my idea. Hey, in order for her to get elected as speaker, she needs your votes. You can deny it to her if you vote as a block, as a squad. And so now you can extract something from your vote, just like the right wing of the Republican Party is doing. So that was the idea. It wasn't my idea, Glenn. The idea was in the DSA's handbook from 2 years earlier. And they all ran on doing something like this. AOC ran. She used to complain when she ran for office the first time that we can't even get a vote on Medicare for All on the House floor. We can't even get a vote. So when I decided, well, you now have the power to extract something with your vote for her as speaker, that would be the thing we've all agreed on for a generation, that we need to get a vote for Medicare for All on the House floor. I thought that would be an easy thing that we all agreed on. We all do agree on it. They pretended to not agree, meaning the squad, AOC, all those people pretended that that was a bad strategy. It's not a strategy. It's a thing that you do. It's politics 101. It's what the Republican right wing is doing right now. And so they didn't do it, and what they did was they got their minions in the press, like at TYT, you mentioned those people, Cenk Uygur, Ryan Grimm at The Intercept, and they all ran interference. Or also, David Sirota came on my show and said Kevin McCarthy could become speaker if they withhold their vote. So there was a lot of people who are considered lefties who were running interference for politicians. And it got exposed. And so why was it so contentious? Was there so much vitriol? Why did I become so hated? Why did they write all those hit pieces about me in the establishment magazines? Because I exposed the game. So now everybody knows that AOC, the squad, Rashid Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, they're all fakers. And it's what I think Chris Hedges said before me, it's worse to have those people inside the Democratic Party because it gives people the misimpression, the bad idea that there's someone in the Democratic Party or in government actually fighting for you. So it keeps you going into the Democratic Party, just like Shama Sawant said, that the road for progressives leads to a graveyard inside the Democratic Party. And that's what this revealed, because they didn't have to ask permission to do this. They could have did it. But instead of withholding their vote and extracting a concession for the progressive wing of the party, which is what we elected them to do, instead of doing that, they rolled over for the establishment on purpose to protect their own careers. They all got book deals and stuff after that. And that's what they're and then what did they do? They then demonized the activists like us. AOC said that I was committing violence against her with my words. Okay. And so, which led me to say, well, you can stab me with an adjective and I'll hit you with a bat and you can tell me which one is actual violence. Okay. So that's what forced the vote was. We wanted to force a vote for Medicare for All on the House floor. And the leverage we could use was that Nancy Pelosi could not get elected speaker without their votes. They decided not to do it. They turned on the active healthcare activist base, and the rest is history. They never, ever voted together as a bloc. Instead, they did one time vote together to make sure a horrible funding bill for Israel went through.
You know, Jimmy, I kind of pride myself on being a good judge of character. I've been around politics and journalism for a long time now, so I feel like I'm not easily fooled. And yet, one of the most shameful episodes was that in 2018, I really did get taken in by AOC. You know, I remember it very vividly. Ryan Graham, who you mentioned, who was the Washington bureau chief of The Intercept, called me and said, hey, there's this candidate in Queens who's challenging, you know, this member of Congress who'd been there for decades. He was a hardcore AIPAC loyalist. All he wanted to do was transfer as much money of the United States taxpayers to Israel as possible, stand behind everything Israel did no matter what, even if it came at the expense of the American government. Obviously, I was not a fan of his. But I also was very wary of these challengers because I've seen so many times where they wave this banner of dissidence and they quickly get co-opted. So I wanted to kind of kick the tires, metaphorically speaking, on AOC. And I asked an interviewer, and she subjected herself to a almost 1 hour interview where I really asked these probing questions. I wanted to see if it was bullshit or if there was actual substance behind it. And go watch it on YouTube and you tell me if you wouldn't have gotten fooled as well. I mean, every question I asked, she had the perfectly constructed answer that seemed so thoughtful and compelling and genuine. Maybe she's just like one of those once-in-a-generation sociopaths like Bill Clinton who just has an immense talent to deceive people. But part of me still really wonders whether there was ever anything authentic about her and people like her and then they got co-opted by Washington, or whether it was a scam and a fraud all along, or maybe it doesn't even matter. But what is your view on that?
Once in a lifetime psychopaths, and it's the name of my new special. Anyway, so I think it does. You're right. It doesn't matter. But in retrospect, this was always a game being played by her. You know, she worked for Ted Kennedy, right? Didn't AOC intern for a Kennedy or something like that? And so she always was, in retrospect, she was always maneuvering to do this and be this way. And then I found out that the day she got elected was the last time she called one of the founders of the Justice Democrats. She stopped even talking to those people. So I think this was in the works all along with someone like her. And I think it is a once in a lifetime psychopath, just like Bill Clinton. She's great at getting people in. And of course, she plays up that she's a victim somehow all the time. She's got 12 million Twitter followers. She never asked them to do anything except to do a phony stunt to get a moratorium on mortgages on this Capitol steps, which was 100% stunt. And it was obvious to see. We called it out immediately. But that's all they're done. All they have is virtue signaling and stunts like that and crying victim. Yeah, I think it is a once in a lifetime, and I fell for it too. So don't beat yourself up too bad. I pride myself on having a pretty good BS detector, but she got me.
Yeah, for sure. I plead guilty to that also. Obviously, I think one of the most important episodes of this year. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update. Catch our full shows for free, live weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on Rumble, and join our locals community at greenwald.locals.com for all of my written journalism, exclusive after-show Q&As, and more.